My name is John Madsen. I live in Stuart, and I moved to Stuart in 1975, 49 years ago, in June. I grew up in a town called Audubon, Iowa, which is about halfway between Omaha and Des Moines. At the time, it was a town of about 3,000 people, so I'd say it was like an O'Neill-sized town. I'm the oldest of 6 kids. My dad was a rural mail carrier, my mom a stay-at-home mom, and they, in fact, are still alive today. I talked to them last week. My dad turned 99, and my mom's 94, and they live together in assisted living about 9 miles from their house. I have 5 younger brothers and sisters, and I've lost one. My brother Mark died at 43 of cancer, but my 3 sisters and my other brother Jim are still alive. I chose to come to the University of Nebraska from Iowa, in part because I had a chance to play on the golf team when I was a freshman. Enjoyed playing golf in high school, and I talked to the coach, and he offered me a spot to play on the Husker team too. And it's only 2 hours from Audubon. I mean, it's close. Lincoln's a nice town, and I enjoyed being in Lincoln, and it kind of drew me across the river. And we'd always gotten Nebraska TV out of Omaha, and so I was familiar with the Husker football team and some of the guys on the team, and back in the 60s after Bob Devaney came, they were playing pretty well. And so in 1968, I enrolled at the University of Nebraska. I studied education, science education. I have a degree in general education, or general science education, so it was like a junior high science endorsement. And then I got a minor in chemistry at the end of my 4 years there, where I had a teaching certificate and a background in science, and so I got a job teaching junior high science in Valley, Nebraska for 1 year, and I got married. I married a girl named Pat Crotter, and she was a teacher too. She was a home ec teacher, and she didn't have a full-time job in Valley, but my hometown of Audubon, Iowa, had an opportunity for a freshman science teacher full-time and a second home ec teacher full-time. And so we went over and interviewed with my good friend, the superintendent, and he hired us to teach in my hometown. We taught there in the years 73-4 and 74-5. In the spring of 74, my wife's great uncle, Donald Crotter, was living in Stuart and running the lumberyard here. William Crotter's oldest son, and he got cancer. And so her dad, Bob Crotter, brought Pat and I over here to Holt County on Easter Sunday and drove us around and showed us the towns and the communities in Holt County, and asked if we'd thought about maybe trying to keep the business in the family instead of staying in Iowa and teaching school. Pat wasn't really too wild about it. She was kind of concerned about working with her family full-time, you know, it's a family business. But I was really kind of excited about it because I'd been in the JCs over in Iowa. I was the president of the local JCs chapter, and it's kind of like working with the Chamber of Commerce, and I liked being on Main Street. And I felt like being in the classroom was kind of tying me down too much. And so I thought, at 25 years old, I'll come out to Stuart and see if I like being in business on Main Street. And if I do, I'll keep doing it. If I don't, I can go back to teaching. That was 49 years ago. Well, it was all new to me because obviously I'd been in Spencer a few times because that's where Pat's from, but I'd never spent much time in Stuart. But you know, I liked a lot of the things about the small town. I saw opportunity by being involved and trying to do the right thing and helping people, because that's what I really like to do, is help people solve their problems. I thought maybe, you know, living in a small town, you might be able to make a difference. You might be able to, by providing service and volunteering in the community, you might be able to make some improvements in the community and area. And so that was important to me. And my folks were that way. They volunteered a lot in my hometown, and so I wanted to be a guy that wanted to be a volunteer here too. And when I got out here and heard the stories about William Crotter, my wife's great-grandfather, who started the company, how he started in Stuart and how vital he was to the area and all the things that he did, as a businessman, I thought, well, this is an opportunity for me to do something similar to that. Not on the scale that he did, because he had 23 lumber yards at one time. I didn't need that many to handle, but I was anxious to kind of provide that kind of leadership in the community, and gave me a chance to do that. I don't think my kids could have had a better education any place and more opportunities any place to do exactly what they wanted to do and not have to do the things they didn't want to do. I mean, that's the advantage of living in an area like this. They can choose the things that they like to do, and they can have a well-rounded education. The teaching staff in these smaller communities is solid as a rock, and I knew that. My wife worked at the school for a while, and so I knew what was going on there. I was very happy with the education that they got and the opportunities that they had, and I just think small town education is great. When we moved to Stuart, I think 90% of the people in town were Catholic, and fortunately we were Catholic too, and so we fit right in there. That was really nice. We both Pat likes to play the organ, I like to sing in the choir, and so we got involved in the church right away. And being a junior high teacher, I really liked being around students, and so I decided I was going to be a CCD teacher, which is like the youth education program in the church, and I did that for 30 years. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. So I got to know the kids and their families really well, because they'd come through the class, and I'd kind of put two and two together, who was related to who, and had a lot of fun getting to know all the young people around here. A lot of them have moved on, but a lot of them have stuck around too, and I see a lot of my former students every day, so that's a blessing too. You know, the family business wouldn't still probably be around 133 years later if we wouldn't be kind of centered in Holt County with the offices and with the retail offerings that we've got there, with the car dealership and with the design center, and having that's where the central office was during all the years when I was first learning the business. And so we were able to branch out to Ainsworth and Bassett from here, because people recognized that we were trying to do the right thing, and so we got some more customers up there, so we were able to buy those lumber yards. And we reopened the store in Gregory, South Dakota, and then of course the Spencer store has always been great up in Boyd County, but O'Neill was always kind of the hub for the offices for the company, and gave us an opportunity to kind of work together. It's been really good. Well, one of the things that I kind of took upon focus for me was housing, and you know, it was kind of natural. It was hard to find a house to live in when we first moved to town, and so I knew that there was a shortage here, and we were able to, with some applications that we made and some help that we got locally, we were able to, we've rehabilitated about 115 or 20 of the houses in town from what they were back in the early 80s. We've built, the Development Corporation got formed in '91, and I've been the president of that since the beginning, and we've been involved in building about 14 or 15 spec homes that we sold along the way during the years. And I was able to also get involved with the Central Nebraska Economic Development District, which is a 14-county organization that's sponsored by the Economic Development Administration through the Department of Commerce. And I was the chairman of that when we first started it, and I've been on the housing board of that thing since the beginning. And so we provide opportunities for housing and other community development projects for 14 counties. And one of the big ones that we did was the Country Clover Crown houses in O'Neill, where those people were able 15 years ago to start renting a house, and if they stayed in it and paid the rent, they could had an opportunity to buy it at a reduced price, because it was to make houses affordable for people. And that program has been really good. I think we just sold 3 of the houses out of the 11 that we built, because the people stayed in there that long and wanted to buy them, and there'll probably be more sold. It's been a good program. And we built a couple of other spec houses there with the help of the city of O'Neill, and Atkinson's had programs where they've used CNED funding, and Stuart has too, and O'Neill as well. And so it's been nice to be involved in that type of improvement. You don't have enemies. I mean, everybody gets along so well, and it's always been one of the things about living in this area is that, you know, we all kind of have to hang together, and people do, and it's really been a joy for us. Pat's taught in just about every school district up and down the line, home ec, all the way from Ainsworth to, well, she even did some student teaching in O'Neill years ago in 5th and 6th grade, and so she's taught in Atkinson, she taught here in Stuart, she taught in Bassett, she taught in Ainsworth, and we just love getting to know the people in the area, and it's kind of a natural that we'd be involved with regional activities because we have businesses in so many of the counties in this area, and so that's been a big help for me to get to know people in those other towns and to find out what they need and try and help them develop their communities too. So it's been a lot of fun.